right, fellas, well, welcome to Elite 11. We couldn't be more excited to have you. 106 quarterbacks playing in the NFL. How many do you think went through the process of Elite 11? 87. 87 of 106 quarterbacks playing at the place we all dream to play wore the jersey, went through the process. Look at the Heisman Trophy. Last 11 years, anytime it's been a quarterback who has won it, has gone through this process.
So now here we are from 500 quarterbacks to 25 quarterbacks. Ultimately, there'll be that one MVP, but how cool would it be if it wasn't about you versus me versus you, but really we looked at the word compete as this collective group was going to strive together and do some big things. Within that word, okay, we got compete right here. I want to teach you about another word. I want to teach you about a third layer of love that I think is necessary to be elite in anything in life, and the way we describe it around here is called agape love. And agape is the purest, deepest form of love that you can have for something. It's when you love something so much that you give the things that you learn away. You give to your left tackle, hey man, this is where we're going to work. This is how we're really going to get together, okay? You love your other quarterbacks when you're with them tonight in your room and you're teaching them, hey man, this is how you say that play that we struggle with in Gerard Johnson's drill earlier, right? The love to be successful at this craft has to be one that is so ridiculously deep. You got to love it with all your heart, all your soul. Trent has a phrase within the Elite 11 that quarterbacks, he believes, fall into one of two categories. You either love what the game does for you, which is Instagram followers, all the love that you get from TV cameras, NFL Network and beyond, or you love what you do for the game. How do you give? How do you have that agape love for this game? The power of understanding your story will allow you to shape, share, explore, and impact people way beyond you. Let me tell you what happens when all of a sudden we forget what our voice is. We got this big-ass dream. I want to make it to the Elite 11. Maybe you make it, maybe you don't. Then all of a sudden somebody finds you and says, you can't play quarterback, maybe you can. Then you get to college and all of a sudden you're just a football player and you're not allowed to have any other dreams or aspirations. Then you get labeled as a jock. And then all of a sudden, that becomes your identity. Then all of a sudden you fall from the 40th floor and all you got is this game and a highlight tape that's on YouTube. And then all of a sudden it's over and you're trying to get back to the parties at your college and nobody's even inviting you because you're kind of the old guy in the has-been. And you have no story, no voice because you haven't done the work. That happens across the nation in all sports, specifically football, because the fall is so far.
You talk to the players about playing on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl.
Oh, man.
One of the greatest memories that you've had multiple times in your life. This is their greatest stage right now, and there's a ton of eyes on them, and all the attention is on them and where they're going to college. When you talk about performing on big stages, when people are looking at you, how would you advise these student athletes here at the opening and the greatest stage they've been at thus far?
Oh, welcome it. Welcome it, because this is your opportunity to shine.
And we talked to a lot of the players, we use this phrase called the lonely work. You know, doing things when nobody else is watching, the boring work, you know, the things that you did pre-practice every day, post-practice every day. When you hear a young man say they want to be great, they want to be the best football player ever, what do you tell to them regarding what's necessary to achieve that type of success?
I think greatness is about teamwork, but you have to be able to sacrifice and be most conditioned athlete you can be.
These kids now have 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 Instagram, Twitter followers. Yeah. And sometimes it can be about things that aren't necessarily their craft, their success. You had a lot of people also watch you and your craft and your success. If you were that age and had to deal with all the attention these kids are having now, how do you think you would deal with that?
Well, you know, it's a little bit more difficult with social media now, but that's just part of life. And they're going to have to be able to balance both. And as long as it doesn't end up hurting, you know, what they're trying to accomplish on the football field, you know, why not?
I love it. This is fun for me, fellas. Fired up for you guys to be here. I've known Larry since he was like 15 as a recruit coming to campus at Pitt. And I think I had hosted you on your visit. And he came right in and he was a consummate pro from jump. The first thing I want to hit you with is that now as a pro, Matt, you know, talked about your accolades. Probably a lot of people pull at you, you know, in great ways. They want you to be part of unique things. Right now, for the majority of these young 17-year-old student athletes, they're getting pulled a lot as well, from recruiting, from media, from coaches, a lot of different areas in their life. How have you balanced it as a guy who's done it now for over 15 years?
Well, my situation was a bit unique. You know, I had some professional guidance. My dad was a journalist. He's been a journalist for 30 years in the Twin Cities area. I'm from Minneapolis, and he would always have me around the Kevin Garnett's and the Kirby Puckett's and the Chris Carters and the Randy Mosses. And so I had really positive mentors around me. And that's something I would encourage you guys to do.
It was interesting this week at the opening, Matt called it football heaven, and it is. And there's going to be talented players. We're talking Larry, Jerry Rice, and the list goes on, and Dominican Sue. There's going to be a ton of people here that you all look up to, and you might be a little intimidated by. What would you tell them if there was something to go ask them in terms of being vulnerable around some of those players that have been through a variety of elements that we're discussing?
I would always tell my dad told me, closed mouths don't get fed. And what I mean by that is if you have an opportunity to ask a question or learn something, never pass that moment up.
I can remember like it'd be at games and he'd, catch a 60-yard pass and I just run in. I'm like, you're coming out. And he would like, no, I'm good, I'm staying in. He'd be exhausted. And I'm like, come on, we're running the ball, give me one snap. But his mentality was he wasn't gonna give it up for anybody, let alone a guy that would never take his job. But I want you to dive deeper into that because I wanna teach you guys how to compete and what it looks like. Because a lot of times it's you have to be loud to compete so a coach can recognize you. And we got quarterbacks, they're competing to be the MVP, top quarterback in the country. Every position here is going to get dubbed that award. But how do you do it in a way that's classy? Because that's an element that your brand and your competitive temperament is known for.
Well, there's always a professional way to go about it. For instance, like you guys are here. If I was in the camp like this, I would want to be sitting in the front of the room.
Even when we were in college, Larry would always be the guy, first guy out, last guy to leave, and it started to create habits for the rest of the team. All right, 100 catches in the jugs, 200, 300, 500, one-handed, closed eyes, whatever it would be, and then all of a sudden, the lineman would want to come over and catch jugs machines, and that type of competitive cauldron was created because he wasn't afraid to be bold and state this is what matters and why it matters. So let's give it up for Larry Fitz. All right, we know you got to catch a flight.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming, man.
It's good to see you.
You too, man. Get it, outside zone, outside zone. Twist, got him. Didn't chase the cheese. Nice job. You're going to your tight end. Oh, no, you're not. Get it out. Nice, thank you, get out. Ball, bam. Hey, alert. Alert post. I love it. Okay, good. Here we go. I'm going to kick slide right here for you, okay? Settle back in. Ball!
And then threes and six.
Love it. That's awesome. Hey, it's a packed house. I couldn't hear you.
Right, Fox too hot. Winston F. Shallow.
Oh, somebody, Matt. Come on. You said you want to be a politician, man. I want to hear you. That is pretty. Okay, baby. I'm a freshman. I don't know anymore. Say it again.
Okay, train right, Fox too hot, Winston F. Shallow.
Okay, one more time. A little more patience with it.
Train right.
Yeah, let me know. I don't know anything.
Train right, Fox too hot, Winston F. Shallow.
I like it. There we go.
In all of our time being around coaches in the NFL, our experiences in college, around this game, around high performers, we've found ways where we can define the type of competitor that you are. So at the very bottom, if we looked at this pyramid, at the very bottom, if you define yourself a competitor, you could be defined as a survivor. That's the lowest level of a competitor. So if you think about it, that's when like things are really hard, and if you were underwater, you should be grasping for a breath of air. That'd be like a survivor. Maybe sometimes that may be freshman year in training camp, or Trent, maybe it was your first day in the NFL. You're just trying to just make it through. Oh my God, this is so hard. Right? You just survive. The second level is just a competitor. If we were going to define just a simple competitor, it would be somebody that would say, well, Jack did this, so I need to do that. It's when your performance is based on someone else's performance. Trevor did this, so I need to step my game up. Oh, they completed a post route, so I better throw a post route because now it really matters. Cool. The third level, it's a true competitor. That's like where a lot of elite performers live. That's when they're not worried about anybody else. True competitor. That's where a true competitor, they're not worried about anybody else's performance. They just go and do their job. I control the controllables. That's where a lot of high performers live. A lot of our teammates as coaches, that's where they've operated at. And then there's the next level, a pure competitor. The peak of this pyramid. And a pure competitor is somebody that, of course, does not worry about somebody else's performance. They only worry about their own. But they also have the ability and the confidence to say, hey, this is how I read this play. Hey, man, I know you might try to take my job, but that's cool because we're going to strive together, like we talked about the very first time we met in Los Angeles. So as we kind of end the final night here, you get to define yourself through your actions, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you operate with your teammates, through good times, through bad times, through miserable times, through fun times, the type of competitor you will be.